All right, ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Tatum show. McDonald's shooting was absolutely crazy. And you know who's not protesting or crying about it or putting T-shirts and statues and GoFundMes? You know who. And we're going to talk about it here in a minute. Stephen A. Smith on Mamdani. I do enjoy Stephen A. Smith's content, and I think he made a really good point on Mamdani. Hopefully you guys listen to somebody other than me that are making these points, so you don't think that I'm just making this up. There's other people with common sense that are saying the same thing that I'm saying. Unhinged black preacher. This dude is the funniest, craziest preacher I ever heard of in my life. His name is James David Manning. I don't even know if I should call him a preacher. The homeboy in the pulpit saying the N-word, calling women B's and H's, all kind of crazy stuff. But I tell you what, outside of the pulpit, what he's saying ain't a lie. Some of the stuff he's saying ain't a lie. All right, Charlie Kirk conspiracy videos gone wild. I have to show y'all this one clip, and it just encapsulates, in my personal opinion, it encapsulates everybody that's making these outrageous claims. And also the Supreme Court made two major rulings, and we're going to talk about that first, and that is the birthright ruling and men and women's sports ruling. And then in post-show, I'm going to talk about and do a Q&A regarding the myths on Charlie Kirk's case. Welcome to the Tatum show.
I want everybody in this room to have that same spirit, that same identity carried in your life.
Make sure that you go through life and find your purpose.
And we don't do this just to get a pat on the back. We do it because we came here to win.
And it starts with you understanding that God has a purpose for you.
This is the time to be more bold than ever before.
We're all Americans at the end of the day, and we should love one another. We should be focused on what's right for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Officer Tatum show. Like I said at the very beginning, I want to do a Q&A. I may have Dylan or somebody come in here and ask me these questions, because I do want to go through a few of the things in the Charlie Kirk case. Shout out to the members. This is the Deputy Chiefs. I appreciate all of y'all at the highest level of supporting Officer Tatum on the YouTube channel. I appreciate you. But I love all you guys the same. So if you haven't joined, you'll be able to have access to the post-show clarity. We'll play a little bit of, we'll do a little different thing live, but we're going to do this during post-show clarity. So for all the members, we'll be able to ask, you guys can ask questions. I think you guys have asked all these questions, and we're going to try to answer them in the post-show clarity for you guys. I want to give a first shout-out to Verdict Bourbon, one of the best bourbons in the country. I think it is the best brand. I know I'm a little biased, but you taste it for yourself. Look at the reviews. See how many 5-star reviews we have. I think we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reviews. Every time I go and do a tasting, we're batting at 100. Every single restaurant that we've ever went to and did a tasting with Verdict, they have ordered our bourbon immediately, or they're going through the process of ordering the bourbon. It has not one place hasn't been blown away by Verdict Bourbon. All right, so make sure you go to verdictbourbon.com, must be 21 or older, and make sure you drink responsibly, because ain't no use you drinking my drink if you are not going to do it responsibly. We are against drinking and driving and being belligerent. You can have a good time, be reasonable, without getting drunk as a skunk. All right, let's get to some of these court rulings. I got too much space up here, it looked like. But let's get to one of the court rulings that came out today. And the first one we're going to talk about is the birthright decision, and I think Clarence Thomas is the only one with common sense on this thing, and all of those who dissented from this particular ruling. Roll a clip.
And it's a big one. It has to do with birthright citizenship. It was an executive order that President Trump, on day one of his second term in January 2025, signed the executive order. It was immediately challenged, and now we can tell you that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled against President Trump's order to limit birthright citizenship. Shannon, we have talked for some time about the president feeling that he would not win on this one. The question is, why not?
Okay. Right off the bat, it says children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are, quote, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment's Citizenship Clause. So look how this broke down. As we expected, the Chief Justice wrote this opinion. Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, Barrett, and Jackson joined. Jackson has a concurring opinion in which Sotomayor joins. Justice Kavanaugh files an opinion concurring in the judgment and dissenting in part. The dissent comes from Justice Thomas. He is joined by Gorsuch, Alito, and then Justice Gorsuch apparently has his own dissenting opinion. So it is what we expected after the arguments here, and it looks like a bit of a split, but enough of a plurality coming together to say that the executive order that the president issued very quickly upon taking office is no good, and that if people are here subject to the jurisdiction thereof includes people who are here illegally. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice Roberts says this: citizenship then and now was the right to have rights to freely participate in our political community. Talking about the 14th Amendment, the framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every freeborn person in this land. That's a quote, and it looks like it's a quote back to some of the legislative debate about this in Congress. He says we keep that promise today. So a loss probably expected by the Trump White House, but it is official and it's a thick one, so we'll keep reading.
All right, we're going to talk about Justin Thomas and what he said here in a minute, but let's just put this in perspective. People come to this country illegally, and they come here intentionally to give birth so they can have citizenship claimed by their children, by their offsprings. If you have 2 or 3 children as an illegal alien, there's no way in the world, or highly likely improbable, for you to get deported because you have American citizen children. This does not exist in any other country on planet Earth. I do not understand why our country takes this decision. This is why we had a Supreme Court. This is why Supreme Court justices are important. But I think this is a grave mistake. When the founders articulated, and I'm not trying to act like I know more than these judges. I'm just giving my opinion and dissent. When the founders created or established or made an amendment, which is the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, I believe in their mind and the spirit of what they were doing was making sure that people who were slaves, that were previously property, that now are free people in the United States of America, as they give birth and have children, they establish citizenship so they can never be removed or not included in society. This was not created for a time such as this, where people can fly on an airplane, travel the sea, traverse the sea with coyotes and cartel paying for people to come into our country, for terrorists potentially to come into our country and get a stronghold here by having children in this country. That's the reason why no other country on planet Earth does this, because there's loopholes that are problematic. And I think that this should be very simply put. If you're a person who are here on legal reasons or something of that nature, you can have children here and be considered citizens. But if you're illegally in our country, you have no jurisdictional authority to be here. I don't know how we can't clean this up. Justice Thomas, I think, had a really good response, and I think Alito agreed with him. Let's go with Alito's, and then we'll go with Clarence Thomas, Justice Thomas perspective. Roll it.
Back to Shannon, who's got more yet again. Shannon.
All right, this comes from Justice Alito, who brought this up during the arguments. This is his separate dissent. He says the court's interpretation also has national security implications. Suppose that a person's only connection to this country is that he was born here to a mother who was present just long enough to give birth and then quickly return to her native country. Suppose that country is a strategic adversary or enemy of the United States. Suppose the child never visited the United States while growing up and was inculcated with hatred of this country. According to this court now, that person is a citizen of the United States. He can enter and leave the country as he pleases. He can travel the world on a United States passport. Even if he plots to harm this country, he cannot be deprived of his status as a citizen, at least under current precedent. He goes on to say that this decision today also provides a powerful incentive to enter or remain in this country illegally. He goes on to say, in my judgment, the court has made a mistake that will seriously affect the country's future. So some very pointed dissents here from those who raised these very big concerns during the arguments. And they're real world scenarios, which are not a fantasy. They're not a movie. I mean, these things that can actually happen now under this ruling that you have today from the majority.
Let's get to Justice Thomas here. And as you could tell, Alito, I think that was Justice Alito, right? He articulated something very pertinent that I think is important. Because if you want to strategically destroy the United States of America over the course of 50 years, see, some people have the long game in mind. They're not thinking instantaneous, taking over of this country in an instantaneous way. They're thinking of a 50-year plan. where they begin to send people into this country with no loyalty, no assimilation to America, no love for American values. They come over here, they have children. Their children are not loyal to this country because the parents are not loyal to this country. And then they leverage those relationships to either gain access, stay here, or they leverage those relationships that their children, as they indoctrinate them, can go to and fro wherever they want to go and be a detriment to this country. And now they have access. Now, here's Clarence Thomas, Justice Thomas.
Back to Shannon Bream for the view from Justice Thomas, who was a dissenter here. Shannon.
Yeah, in his dissent, he gets to that point, Bill, that you're making there. The 14th Amendment was enacted in the wake of the Civil War, quote, with the one pervading purpose of securing equal citizenship for the freed slaves. He writes, it was enacted, as Justice Harlan wrote, to secure to a race recently emancipated the civil rights that other citizens enjoyed. So Thomas has always been about that was the purpose of the 14th Amendment. He goes on to say that the court, meaning the majority now, has repurposed the 14th Amendment to protect its own set of preferred rights that the Reconstruction Congress never contemplated and that cannot find support in the text. Today, the court does so by recognizing a constitutional right to citizenship for the children of all foreign birth tourists and illegal aliens. He uses very specific language there. Again, Justice Thomas adhering and agreeing with the government's argument, with which they made here very passionately, that the 14th Amendment was about protecting the children of freed slaves and not what we've come to understand it as. You see his language there. He mentions birth tourism. It came up in the arguments, and clearly that's a very big concern of the dissenters. We also have dissents by Justice Alito and others, so we'll read those as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting because they have this ring of people who come here as tourists. They come stay in hotels. They have a whole economy around this, where hundreds of well, I don't know if it's that many people, but I think it's at least thousands of people have done this over time. It's probably been tens of thousands where people come here on tourism with the front of a tourist. And they get here and they stay in these hotels, and it's like I said before, it's a whole economy around this. And they get pregnant on purpose, and they give birth to children. They become American citizens. They have no intent to stay here. They have no reason to be here. They have not showed our government any intent to become American citizens. They just come over here to leverage the resources for children who are born in this country. Let me just give you a quick example, and I'm gonna go to Trump. When you have a child here in the United States of America, if you don't have income or you're living in poverty, just say you don't work. You don't want to work. They're not going to make you work. If you have a child, you can go down to the child support office, Lord Jesus. You can go down to the, I don't know what you would call this, Social Security office. You go down there, you say, hey, I got a young child or I'm pregnant. They'll immediately give you resources ahead of everybody else. And a person can sit on their ashy elbows, never intending to be a citizen, never wanting to add value to society. They can have government assistance that will protect, financially support them and their unborn child. And then when the child is born, they retain that same level of government assistance throughout that child's life until the child is 18 years old. And you can't tell me that's not true. People are doing it all the time. That's why you see some of these single moms going out here in these inner cities, and they're on food stamps for 55 years. They just keep having children, and they're not going to let the children starve, so they're going to give you too much money for formula and all kind of stuff, and mama's selling food stamps and all kind of stuff. It's just an economy that's useless and that does not add value to America because it's unnecessary. And people take advantage of that by the millions. All right, here's Donald Trump. Roll the clip.
I guess I have to accept it's the Supreme Court, so I'll accept. I think it's very bad for our nation. We're the only nation that does it. No other nation does that birthright citizenship. No, not even close. Some did it, they ended it. It's tremendously destructive. It's extremely costly. I don't know, it's up to them. But in terms of for the good of the country, it'd be great if they didn't allow it. It would be great, but I can't tell you. The Slaughter case was the big case today. That was really a big case because it gave strength to presidents and strength to the presidency, a very important case. It's been going on for almost 100 years, think of that, and this was the ruling that really topped everything by a lot today, yeah.
All right, so let's get to the next ruling. I know how people may feel about that, and I think they're justified in that. And their theology is that this is not helpful to America. What way does this ruling benefit the United States of America and holds precedent and context to what the original 14th Amendment was made for? There was no illegal aliens in this country. There was no mass immigration. People had to get over here on a boat. You weren't flying over here. You weren't getting shipped over here. There wasn't a big economy and illegal aliens coming to America to take over this country. There's enemies that are foreign that want what we have here in America, and they don't want to assimilate. They want their own new world. Here's another ruling that I think was very important, and that was the ruling of keeping men's penile out of female locker rooms. And I'll just say this, because I know I probably got trans people that follow me, gay people that follow me, trans-adjacent people that follow me. Let's just be quite honest, man. If you live in America, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. If you want to be trans, be trans. I don't think it's a problem with you doing whatever you want to do in your own personal life according to the laws of the United States of America. Now, according to God, that's between you and God. But outside of that, I know nobody cares. You can dress like a man, cross-dress, dress like a woman, do whatever you want to do. Just don't mess with the kids and don't be an a-hole. And what does being an a-hole mean? That means that you know God dog well that you are superior athletically than women, and you're going to take your narrow behind and try to put a wig on and say, I'm equally competing against women because I'm a real woman. No, you're not. Even if you want to identify as a woman, you weren't born a woman. I don't know why we even arguing about this. Why can't people not be jerks and put other people in terrible situations because they're of their own endeavors? Do what you want to do. And when it becomes a hindrance to other people, meaning it thwarts somebody else's constitutional rights or their rights to freedom and access to sports, when you begin to thwart their stuff, but with your own, I want to say, I'm not going to use the word retardation, but your own problems, then that's an issue. Roll the clip.
I want to introduce now Tatum McNabb, Independent Women's Forum ambassador, former three-sport high school athlete from North Carolina, severely injured by a biological male on the women's volleyball court. Good morning to you, and congratulations. You won.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
How do you feel now?
I'm just feeling so blessed. Of course, this is something that means a lot to me, and it affected me personally. And, there's a lot of eyes on this. Across the country, there's families, there's parents, and there's coaches and daughters who are watching this decision being made. And I'm just so thankful that they get to understand that they are protected and it's okay for their state to protect them, because that's all it was. All that they were having to determine is if it was okay if states could protect their girls or if it was allowed. So I'm thankful that states are able to protect their girls. Of course, they shouldn't have been put in that position to begin with, but again, this really does help the Supreme Court, because to me, if they wouldn't have ruled this way, they would have lost all credibility. So I'm very thankful it went this way, and I'm excited to see it keep pushing in the right direction.
Shout out, young lady with that Southern accent. All right, so let me just address this and I'll move on. I respect trans people that are honest. That's what it is. I see them online all the time, and they go, I'm a man. I'm a man, but I want to identify as a girl, and I respect that. I don't have no problems. I could be friends with somebody like that. As long as you real about what's happening to you, then I can respect what you're doing. I'm like, look, man, I don't know what's going on in your heart and your mind. This is what you decide to do. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You're just trying to live out what you feel like. That's fine. Just get the kids out of it, man. And don't try to overdo yourself and push yourself on other people. That's all I'm asking for people. Same thing about being gay and all this, man. I love everybody, man, because everybody got a story. Everybody's a person. Everybody bleeds the same blood. We all in different phases in our lives. Some people I don't write people off in many cases, simply because you never know what God can do in their lives moving forward. So you just love people, and as long as they're not trying to hurt people and with the intent in their heart to do wrong, then you can say, look, I love you. I appreciate you. You live your life, and I ain't got nothing to say about it. You in your lane, I'm in my lane. I don't get it. But then the other people, they do too much, man. They look like dudes with wigs on, and then they want to make you call them certain things. I can't stand that. All right, Stephen A. Smith, here's the next story we're going to talk about. Mom Dummy Stephen A. Smith is articulating why he think that what Mamdani is doing is foolish. Now, one thing I disagree with Stephen A. Smith, because Stephen A. Smith said he liked Mamdani. Mamdani is a terrorist. Mamdani is an ignorant, foolish person who evilness is displayed on his face every time he talks. He's a mass manipulator. He has no reasonableness to what he's saying. This is just one of those kids that was I would call him a trust fund, even though I don't know if he was rich from a trust fund, but I know his parents were wealthy, or at least his mom was. And you got somebody that never really struggled, that's not a part of the cause, and they're going out there and regurgitating stuff that they learned in school when they got brainwashed with $100,000 debt. And they're out here just saying the random stuff that make them feel good when they took classes at the university that's not applicable. I graduated with a degree in sociology. So obviously we learned about socialism in sociology class. And, when it was presented to me in college, it was an option, but the reality of capitalism was revealed as well. So what they're saying is historically, this is what socialism was. We live in a capitalist nation. This is why capitalism works. Here are the flaws of capitalism, and here's socialism, and here's the things where people believe in socialism. We were given an articulation in that way, not stupid enough to act as if socialism is a structure that can be applicable in the United States of America. It will never work. The foundation of this country is capitalism. That's the reason why we got to this point. We would have never been here if we had been a socialist nation. You can't name a socialist nation that's profiting and more successful than the United States of America. You can't name one in the history of existence of humanity. All right, Stephen A. Smith, roll it.
Let's be real about something here. You have a whole bunch of people in office that's scared to lose their seats, and you've got Democratic voters that are leaning towards voting for these people. And so as a result, they got to figure out a way to get those people back on their side. They're not going to vote Republican. They're going to vote Democrat. But if Mamdani is running as a Democrat, even though he's a Democratic socialist, and he's preaching about affordability, okay, and the working class, that's something that they want to hear because they're the ones that feel left out right now. And so that's what the message is, whether it's him or the people that he endorses. Remember, the people that Hakeem Jeffries endorsed lost to the people that Mamdani endorsed. So obviously he's gaining traction. His profile, his cachet, his significance is growing, and nobody can ignore that. So as a result, how are you going to deal with that?
And let me just translate this a little bit, and I get some more Stephen A. Smith clips. They're manipulating you. That's like if I had a 5-year-old, which I have a kid that's a 5-year-old. And I know what I can tell him, because you got to think I'm much smarter, I'm more advanced because I'm an adult and my brain is fully formed. And there are people in society that take advantage of others who are not as advanced psychologically. And so what do? They get young people who are vulnerable mentally, and then they lie to you and tell you everything they know you want to hear. That's just like if I want my son to do something, I say, son, if you go do this, I'll give you a take 5. He don't have to process how I get to take 5. He don't have to process the cost of a take 5. He don't have to process how much sugar going into his body and how crazy it's going to make him. And you know what I'm saying? And he going to be moody and all kind of stuff. He's not processing none of that. All it is that his brain and the way he's developed so far and that sugar intake makes him feel like I will do anything for sugar. He don't have to think about consequences. That's why adults should teach their children the consequences. Just like our leaders who have had a tremendous amount of experience, who are educated, who allegedly should be high IQ, should be articulating to the public, here are the risk factors, and getting exactly what you think you want. I look at this thing just like God. When you go to God and you say, God, I want to be rich, or God, I want this, I want that. And then you go through something and you're like, God, see, I thought you was going to give me that. No, God is trying to show you these skill sets you will need if you really want what you say you wanted. And in a lot of cases, people don't get what they want because they don't realize that's not what you really want. You want peace. You want prosperity. You want good relationships. And the crazy thing you ask God for is not going to get you what you want in your heart. Same thing with this stuff. Free stuff sounds good, but that's not the end of the story. Your taxes are going to go up. It's going to be a lot harder for you to get health care. It's going to be a lot harder for you to get served and seen. We've seen it happen in Canada. When you give everybody free stuff, nobody has good quality stuff. It's just the way it is. Here's another clip from Stephen. Roll it.
Did you see what else Mamdani said? Said, quote, "We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. I won last November. And over the course of these last 6 months, what we've delivered for working people are the very things we were told were impossible. And we've done all of these things while also delivering the lowest recorded crime in our city's history. That's what it looks like to have democratic socialism. And what you're seeing is that New Yorkers experienced this for 6 months and made the decision that they wanted to see more of it on the national stage as well. I'm not buying that yet, but it sounds damn good. What I want to know is that when you freeze rent, what else have you frozen? Have you frozen the price of equipment? Have you frozen maintenance? Have you frozen those things? Because those things still need to happen, and it costs. Nothing's free. And if you're talking about taxing and more taxing, excuse me, you're going to run businesses out of New York City, and then ultimately, where's the money going to come from? To develop a middle class, let alone pay them. That's how I'm looking at things. Obviously, he's looking at it a bit differently, which is why I'm doing this segment, because I can't wait to talk to him. I've been anxious to have him on the show to ask him some of these questions. I'm waiting to see whether or not he's going to accept it and what he's going to have to say once he ultimately does. Because in the end, the money has to come from somewhere. Nothing is free, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely, positively, nothing is free. If you're not paying, it's because somebody else is. And if you want to say it's the wealthy that's going to be paid, well, if they're taking their asses out of New York City, who's going to be here to pay it? Eventually, it'll trickle down to that middle class that was supposed to be being spared. And where's that going to leave the city? These are just questions. I'm not pretending to have the answers. I don't know. But they're legitimate questions that I need answers to, coming from a proud, renowned democratic socialist like Zohran Mamdani.
I agree. So look, this is what I would perceive in this situation. Now, Mamdani's going to go in there and slick talk and say everything he needs to say, but is it going to be contested with somebody who's an economic expert, right? Does it have to be an expert? No, it could be somebody with common sense. But the weight of what somebody says that's an expert in economics would articulate very clearly and disprove everything Mamdani is saying. I want you guys to realize this, because you guys have been following me for a very long time. Understand that I've been in different phases of life financially, and also I know people that are far beyond me financially. People who are rich, who are making millions of dollars, you got to think a lot of them are business owners and entrepreneurs, or they're older. They've invested their money over time, and now their net worth is millions, or they're living off millions of dollars that they have in the stock market. So a lot of these people are doing that, or they own real estate and different things like that. The rich people can afford to move. The average person cannot fathom what people are doing that makes millions of dollars a year. Those people are paying majority of the taxes in that state. All is going to happen is that they have the ability and incentivized, they have been incentivized to leave and go to places like Florida. The average person can't get up and just move. The average person can't just leave a regular job that they're working on, that they've been working on for so many years, just to get to where they're at financially. Rich people can move. And I'm not saying I'm rich, but if I wanted to today, I could move out of Arizona in 30 days and live anywhere in the country that I want. And therefore, if Arizona, and there's tens of thousands of people, all you got to do is go on Zillow and look at the multi-million-dollar houses in your city. Somebody living in them. Somebody got the money to pay for them. And that's a lot of people. They're just going to move out of New York. And then what happens when the capital moves out of the city? How are you going to run socialism with no capital? I'm telling you, y'all think it's a game. I forget his name now. It's two major billionaires moved out of New York City. One has a $200 million house in New York City, and he's going to move his headquarters to Florida. It's a $4 billion investment in a building headquarters that they're building right on the water in Florida. It's going to be tons of millionaires moving out of Florida. Moving out of New York. Ken Griffin is one of them, and then Diamond. Ken Griffin and Jamie Dimon. Those are two people that have openly mentioned that they're moving their headquarters out of New York City. They're not going to live there, and they're moving their people out of New York City over time. They're not invested in the future of their company in New York City. It's going to hurt New York City, man. I'm telling you, and you'll see it. And then by the time you see it, they're going to keep making excuses of why Donald Trump and everybody else is the problem, why socialism didn't work. All right, let's get to one more clip. This is one more clip, Mamdani clip from Stephen A. Roll it.
If you're a Democrat in the United States, particularly in New York City, Zohran Mamdani is coming. And if he's coming, what does that mean for the rest of America?
Let me not say that. That means you're getting screwed. For all the adults in the room, you know what I'm saying. If Mamdani is, what does that mean for the rest? That mean you're getting screwed. Okay, roll the clip.
Because I got questions. Where has socialism ever succeeded? If so, tell us where that is. How is it going to succeed in New York? How are you going to sell that in a capitalistic society? You might do it in New York with young voters. What about the people in the suburbs? What about them? You really think this kind of message is going to resonate with them? Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here is this. If it resonates within the Democratic Party, but it doesn't have a snowball's chance of resonating in a general election, then you're basically handing the presidency to the GOP in 2028 as well.
All right, so let me explain this real quick, and then we're going to move on to a super chat. We got a super chat from Poppy Shampoo. So let me just explain this real quick. They don't care that the community at large isn't accepting socialism. It's a boiling pot theory. They warm you up with it. They trick you into it because they have a plan that later on it will be more accepted. They are not trying to win. They're trying to indoctrinate you and get you comfortable with the reality of stupidity. And over time, the stupid generation that's willing to select Mamdani or elect Mamdani as the mayor will be stupid enough to elect another socialist as the president of the United States of America. And then we're going to have to crumble as a country. And then they're going to be praying to God that we get another capital sin. That's what's going to happen. All right, Poppy Shampoo, thank you so much for the super chat. It says, been following you for a while. Watch all of your videos. Thank you for speaking the truth. God bless you, man. These Democrats are ruining a great country. At least they trying. But it's going to take all of us to stand together and make this right. Let's talk about this McDonald shooting. Like I said in the prelim, this won't get GoFundMes. Nobody's even talking about it. Nobody cares about it. These things happen every single day of the week, and it's not a tragedy. Why is that? Why is it that if a white man is somehow doing something and a black person get killed in the process, it's the biggest thing ever? Benjamin Crump is going to show up and he's going to make his money and do all this stuff. But when this stuff happens, nobody says anything but Brendan Tatum. Roll the clip.
Surveillance video from Hallandale police shows the frightening moments a gunman opens fire in a McDonald's parking lot. A father and daughter are injured while sitting in a car. And now, only on CBS News Miami, the city's mayor tells us what may have led to that gunfire. CBS News Miami's Peter Dinch is your reporter live from Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, where that girl is recovering. Peter.
Nasha, we can tell you the 11-year-old girl is in the intensive care unit, but she is stable. The father has been released from the hospital. Meanwhile, Mayor Joy Cooper says the shooting stemmed from a dispute between the arrested McDonald's employee and some people from Miramar. Surveillance video captures these images on Saturday. Someone runs through a parking lot at this McDonald's on West Hallandale Beach Boulevard, and a man sees him and pulls out a gun and starts firing. The other person runs away. Several calls come in to 911.
No, we did not see who's doing the shooting.
These are the moments that, mayors pray never happen.
Hallandale Beach Mayor Joy Cooper says the shooting could have turned tragic. Now police say 18-year-old Ralph Nkosi Blue has been arrested.
Time out. Go back. Ralph Nkosi Blue. Third. That meaning three people. Am I tripping? Is this Jamaican or something? Ralph Nkosi. N-Cozy. The third. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong, y'all. Maybe Nkosi is like a European name or something. I don't know. Maybe it's a nickname. Hopefully it's a nickname. Maybe his middle name is a nickname or something. Name him Nkosi. Anyway, regardless of that, what are you doing that you working at McDonald's and you doing shootouts in the parking lot? What are y'all doing, bro? Then you shoot random people. What are y'all doing out here in these streets? Now you're facing so many felony charges. And you know they slap these people on the wrist and they let them out and they start killing and thugging the next day. But it's unfortunate because this young man is 18 years old. Imagine going to prison at 18, dude. You're just a baby. You haven't experienced nothing in life yet. And you're spending time in prison with felony charges because you're blindly shooting and you could have killed 2 people. What are you thinking? And Cozy the third. I just want, what's the solution, Brandon Tatum? Since I'm putting the problem out there. The solution is on an individual basis. That means that young people that are listening to me, if you really care about your community and you care about the perception of black people or whatever the case may be, raise your children correctly. And it's easier said because you grew up in a community where this stuff is normalized, then it don't seem weird to you. But I just pray to God that there is mentors out here that will take these young boys by the neck, man, and say, get it together, brother. You got so much potential. I bet this kid right here that we're looking at on this camera is probably very smart. Probably was one of these kids that was at school, didn't even have to study and making a 4.0 GPA. Very talented, could be changing the world, but instead he's deciding to be a part of something and get caught up in something that caused him to go to prison and lose his life at 18. It's insane to me. Let's get to the next topic. And this is funny, is I don't know what, and this encapsulates, I think, every single person that's even in my DMs and comment section talking about this Charlie Kirk thing. The trial is coming up, y'all, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to try to get you as much information and accurate information. Man, look, if it ain't, the shoe don't fit, you ain't finna catch me at the trial witnessing this, and then I come back and say, yeah, it was all good, and it wasn't. It's not going to happen from B. Tatum. I'm going to give you the truth. And common sense tells you a lot of this, but let's see what these people have to say. And this gentleman's name is Caleb Hammer, and his show is kind of funny. I think he gives financial advice. I thought it was all staged, but I guess these people are real. There's really people that go on the show knowing they finna get smoked, and they do it anyway. Now, here's an example of people that follow the people that you know who they follow with this outrageous conspiracy stuff. Roll the clip.
Charlie Kirk's not actually dead.
What? What the fuck are we talking about?
Well, it's conspiracy theories.
Someone's killed my marriage out here.
Yeah. He doesn't really agree.
I don't know. I saw some videos a lot on Twitter that day.
What day? Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fake, though. So
you saw some people die, probably. Did that look like death?
No.
Well, it's questionable.
Oh.
It's questionable, dude. I've seen people shot. I've been part of shootings.
You've seen movies. Does that look like death? That looks more like death than the Charlie Kirk.
I don't think movies are like...
But it is.
I'll put it to you this way. When you look at his situation, right? First off, a man shooting a shot that far away has to be very, very, very good.
Maybe he got also just very lucky.
But the bullet that was supposedly used would have blown up his head.
I'll say this. I was an expert shooter in the military. I've scored perfect every single time I've shot a weapon in the military.
The blood didn't even stain his clothes.
Whatever, right?
So where is he? Why would he do this?
So he's so there's theories. So there's theories.
There's retardation. I don't think there's theories. It's what we call retardation. It's where people are literally making up stuff to fit an agenda because they don't have the mental capacity or maturity to digest, diagnose what actually happened. So they rather live in a fantasy world of conspiracies. You know, when that gentleman said, I'm a shooter and I shot in the military, thank you for your service. But I also shot perfect score. I was on the SWAT team in Tucson Police Department. Perfect shooter, 250 on the handgun and perfect rifle shooting. So I'm a proficient shooter too, and I was on a team with a bunch of dudes that knew what they were doing, snipers and everything. There's a thing called possibility and plausibility. Is it plausible that a 308 won't blow through your neck like a piece of paper? The plausibility of that is very low. The possibility of that is a foot. That means that it is possible. It's a very low probability, but it's possible. And I think people got to understand the difference. Just because it's unlikely don't mean it didn't happen. And if you believe it didn't happen, then you need to have an alternative theory or some evidence to back up why it didn't happen. This is the crux of the case in Charlie Kirk's thing, is the 308. And I understand people's questions. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the autopsy, you have to look at the murder weapon, and you have to look at evidence that's presented, and you have to come to a conclusion of, maybe I have to look at the fact that this is possible because we have no other alternative evidence. Let him finish.
So he can either his wife, Erica Kirk, was in on it, or like in on the conspiracy, and she's in hiding with him.
So we got some Candace watchers.
Or, yes, 100%. Okay. We know. Okay. We know. Okay.
We know.
But we don't know.
You think?
We don't know, but we know.
It's called a think, not a know.
No, we know. So,
I just want to get sued.
So either his wife, because she's got ties to child trafficking. She does.
Based off of
the work she did with children. She was kicked out of, what was the country? She was kicked out of the country for it. Yeah. So
that country.
You got to know this, dog.
Well, it was like Slavia. Where is it? What was
Slovenia?
No, there was a country that she did like
Ukraine?
Was it Ukraine? No, it wasn't Ukraine. Don't look at me like that. I'm legit. Like,
we just name all the.
I'm just waiting to get
I know. I'm trying to remember the country, but she was kicked out of a country. She was doing like adoption work for little kids that don't have parents, and they were going missing, and so she was kicked out of the country.
Y'all, this is what the comment section sound like, right? People, they come up with these things and they go, Erica Kirk was in on it. I don't know how she was in on it. I just think she was in on it. Then they have to create another theory because they have no evidence and they have no motive. So they got to go, she was a part of a sex trafficking ring. Where is this happening at? Yeah, people say it, but there's no real tangible evidence that she was a part of any of this stuff. It's people that's taking a little bit of truth here, a little bit of truth there, and they put it together and make a theory. Because if they ever tried to present this to court or anywhere, people would laugh them out of the courtroom. You cannot, in a world that we live in that's reality, you cannot make astronomical, outrageous claims without evidence, or you will be including in a lawsuit somewhere because you defamed somebody because you heard from something you heard. All right, here's another clip. It gets crazier. Roll it.
So Erica Kirk, you're saying.
I'm alleging.
You're alleging.
Oh, now you're alleging.
Is a child ringleader.
She's in on it.
And Charlie didn't die because of that?
No. So she's was basically his handler. And either there's two different theories. Okay. So either she was his handler, he found out about all her bullshit.
Aren't they just like a classic Christian couple like y'all?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Isn't that kind of what he was preaching?
Well, in the video where he's being shot, it wasn't actually him. It was a hologram.
Oh.
There was a trap door. There was a trap door. And
But
hologram
you don't actually believe this. You're just having fun with this.
No, I believe this. I believe one of two theories. That's one of the theories. I don't believe he's actually dead.
Okay, and the other theory would be?
Well,
now I understand why you guys can't talk about things, because you guys are like scary with your brains.
The trap door that you think.
The door. There was a trap door. They covered the trap door up, either that night or the next day. I doubt that's the cover-up people.
The cover-up people.
Yeah, the cover-up people. What would you call them? I don't know.
I don't know. Just who are they? What's the reasoning?
The CIA.
So where is he now?
In hiding.
She thinks it's Guantanamo Bay.
Why would he want to hide? He was very successful.
But there are people Because
why
they were
would he
gonna
want to
kill
be
him.
hiding?
They were
I
gonna
will
kill
say
him.
some of this
And
could
it's all
be
part of the plan.
Israel.
What plan?
Israel.
The plan with Donald Trump and all. So it all plays into each other.
Oh
Okay.
my
So
gosh.
we are under a military operation right now.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Were you a part of this?
No.
Okay, I think he might have some insight if this was a thing.
So all of these
shit.
things, like the Charlie Kirk stuff, like the celebrities, all of it
Dude,
goes.
she's batshit insane. You married her?
Let me tell y'all, like, y'all think this woman, God is my witness. When I'm in the comment section, people literally sound just like this. They just make up stuff. It was an exploded microphone. There's an autopsy that has already been done on the record. And let me just tell you this. We'll find out in the trial, but the defense is, I almost will guarantee you guys that the defense is not going to make this argument. They are not going to argue that Charlie Kirk was killed with an exploding microphone. They're not going to make the argument that there was a trap door. They're not going to make an argument that somehow there's another murder weapon used. The argument is going to be sympathy. They're going to try to humanize Tyler Robinson. They're going to try to make it seem like he was not in his right state of mind, which means that it wasn't something that was as grossly negligent or as grossly murderous as we know it to be. They want to make it seem like over time he was manipulated and he was going through a hard time and he was influenced by this Lance Twiggs person, and this is not his character and who he is, not so he can be found innocent, it's so they can have sympathy so he don't get the death penalty. That's what this is about. The defense is not going to argue that it's not his gun. The prosecution is saying we have DNA evidence of his DNA on the gun, the rounds, the etching. They found evidence at his house when he was living with Lil Twigs. They got him admitting to it. They got him talking about doing it on Discord. They got witnesses who saw him on the roof shoot Charlie Kirk. They have surveillance video of him getting on the roof, jumping down from the roof. They have video surveillance of him running behind a house, dumping the gun, running out to the street. They have all of that evidence. They have video of it. He was identified by his own parents. He turned himself in at the assistance of his own parents. So the defense is not arguing any of these things, y'all. The reason why they didn't want to televise is because they want him to have an opportunity for people to have sympathy on him. The defense knows if this is public, it's going to be quite obvious that this kid is a nut. They want to remove the death penalty. The judge said no. Why do they want to remove the death penalty? Because they don't want him to get the death penalty when he loses this case. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for your time. We're going to do some Q&A because I want, in good faith, I want to be able to answer all of my followers' questions. I mean, and I say followers, I got to start with the people who support. I want to give them access because there's millions of people that follow me and hundreds of millions of views. So I want to do this for the members. And we're going to do a Q&A. So if you're a member or you can join the membership, I think the lowest entry point is like $2.99 a month. I mean, if you want to join the membership and support the channel, we're going to do a Q&A where I'm going to have somebody on our staff ask me frequently asked questions and play devil's advocate when it comes to the Charlie Kirk case. And I'm going to answer the questions as much as I can with the knowledge that I have based on my training experience and also some of the things that I've read in a court document. And so if you're interested in hearing the Q&A, join me for post-show clarity. Hold the phone. I'll see you on the other side.